Welcome to another episode of DD on the Spot. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Johnson. And before we get into it with our guest here today, well, everyone, you should recognize our guest if you've been a long-time listener. I mean, Shelace is back on the podcast for what, the third time now? I mean, she's been on now, so you should recognize her. And yeah, she's just on here to give us an update on what she's been up to. And yeah, it's been a little over a year. I think it's been a year and a couple of months since we last had her on. But most importantly, she's back on. Shelace, thank you so much for coming back on.
Thanks for having me, Ryan. I'm excited to be back.
Well, I've never asked this, and I was waiting to have you back on to ask this again. So, how did your parents come up with the name Shelace? Because that is not a very common name, and I can't believe it took me three times to have you on before I finally ask it.
Actually, yeah, it's a great conversation starter. My parents combined their first names. They're actually very unique as well. So, my mom's is Shelba, which she was named after her mom's best friend. And then my dad's is actually Lacey. And he was named after his dad's best friend's last name. So then they put Shelace together.
Okay, your dad must have been one heck of a fighter then to grow up with the name Lacey. You need to earn that when it's like that. But hey, it's not bad. So my mom's first name is Rosanna, and if I was a girl, I would have been Anna Rose.
Oh, there you go.
It's backwards. So yeah, I don't.
Good thing you weren't a girl.
I know I pray to that every birthday, and every time I have to do that, I just say, thank God. But I ask this question too every single time, regardless. And people that comment down below are like, oh, it's just a dumb question to ask. But what is the weather like? Because I'm a weather fanatic.
We have 92 today. It's dry.
Like I told her before we started recording, this is the one time where someone from Nevada will have a warmer temperature than someone here in Minnesota. It's like 96, I think 96 or 98. It's around there the last time I checked. So, yep, we're living in a twilight zone here.
Is that unusually warm for you guys?
We reach probably 100, probably like 4 or 5 times a summer usually. I think this week is kind of like the last week that it's in like the upper 90s ish, where I do my walks outside. So I got to wait until like 9 o'clock to go outside normally, except for days like today where I got them done early because otherwise it's just too dang hot. But yeah, it has been getting a little bit warmer, but then it's the funny thing, like you got places like Duluth where it could be 98 degrees here and it's 65 degrees there because of the Lake Superior effect, where it's the lake effect. So I don't know, but I never go up there during the winter, everyone. If there's one piece of advice that you ever get from this podcast, never go up to Duluth in the winter. It will be negative 30 degrees and you'll get a foot and a half of snow and your car will be frozen solid, where you have to stay an extra night because you can't leave because your car is literally just frozen solid. So yeah, do not ever do that, everyone. But before everyone just like freaks out and realizes like, how can a car freeze? Look it up. A car's gasoline can freeze solid. It's happened to me plenty of times. Shelace, why don't you give us an update first off on what you've been up to since we last had you on?
Oh, it has been a whirlwind actually since the last time. I I don't know even where to start. So I guess I resigned from teaching. Um, so I had 16 years of
I
teaching
remember
in,
you
and
just mentioned that the last time we had you on, so I think you just had resigned when I had you on last.
I think so too. If it right around this time, I think it was in April that I had officially talked to my principal about it. So yeah, officially resigned, signed my letter saying I was no longer going to be with the district, and moved on. So coaching business is going amazing. So lots of personal training clients and then a lot of online clients. I couldn't be happier doing what I'm doing. I've just been having so much fun and such a blast coaching. It was a fantastic move for me, mentally, physically, everything. Yeah, so just working on that side of the business and learning how to be a business person instead of a teacher, which is a whole other world. So learning a lot in the last couple of year or the last year.
Well, I mean, when I look at teachers and I look at, personal trainers or just coaches, there are some things that seem to be sort of similar. Is there anything that you took from being a teacher that has really helped you with coaching?
It's funny, I get this asked quite a lot actually. First one is time management. I mean, obviously, like especially middle school teacher, we had like an hour per class. Same with my clients; it's an hour per class, and it's you get a shift, so it's not the same thing every single time. Um, as far as students are not the same people, and you have to teach them and speak to them differently. Same thing with clients; you have to speak to them in a totally different way and manner, and yeah, um, they're just and you collect a lot of data. So using your data with your clients and or your students, excuse me. Um, so there's a lot actually. I've noticed the similarities. And I think it's helped me a lot learning how to communicate with my clients because I had to communicate with so many students differently and so many different personalities, and learning how to um, maneuver around the different personalities of my clients too. So it's definitely helped me quite a bit.
Well, let's be honest too. You basically have to become a therapist when you become a coach too. Like, you
Yes.
should basically have gone to school for. I mean, because like you deal with everything that a person's going through. That is one thing that I found that I was not aware of when I first, started really talking to a lot of trainers. That like, yeah, you deal with so much more than just the training. You deal with how the people are feeling. You deal with their minds. I mean, it's just, yeah, it's it.
Yeah,
You,
I mean, and that's like what it's like as a teacher too, especially at the middle school level
oh
because
God, yeah.
they're middle schoolers. So yeah, you are definitely a therapist there as well.
God, if you're a middle school teacher, I really think you can do anything on this planet. Like, if you get through a middle school, yeah, that is. I mean, I can't imagine what my middle school. I mean, honestly, I think I would just become like a straight up alcoholic if I ever had to like teach middle
I
school
loved
like that.
middle school. I
Well,
loved it.
I'd like it too, but I mean, just knowing how bad I was to teachers, like I could not, like I was just like if I knew that you were on prep and you were my teacher, I would purposely buy like a Papa John's pizza or something like that and put it like right outside your door just so that you could smell it. Like I was that type
You
of
were one
like
of those?
I was one of those guys. Yeah, you can. I was just so hyper. You could not put me in a seat and just expect me to like just. Yeah, it was not a good. And then finally, when teachers kind of realized like, oh yeah, just let Ryan, not like do his thing, but like just realize that like he's trying to like sit in his chair because it's like some like as a teacher, it's like some kids aren't meant to just sit in a chair for like eight, like they just can't do it. And I'm just, as you can tell, I'm one of those. It's how I'm able to sit for these podcasts and get along with it. It's only because like I did my cardio ahead of time, so I'm dead tired. So
Right.
that's about it right there. But I mean, we talked about it before. You've done 2 shows in the last few weeks or months, and how'd you do in those?
Yeah, so first one we did Spectrum NorCal, and I walked away with the Olympia qualification in that one. So that was pretty awesome. My first pro win. It was kind of interesting. On your stories on Instagram, um, put the questions, ask me your questions or whatever. And I had a friend ask me what was my ultimate goal now. So because I hit the Olympia stage last year, so like what's beyond this? What can you do that's beyond this? And I said, well, one, I want to do better at the Olympia than I did last year. And I said I've never had a pro win, so I'd like to have a pro win. And so coming out this year and getting that pro win was pretty awesome, and not having to chase points again all year long. So that was pretty cool to accomplish that goal. That was pretty exciting. And then just finished up this last weekend. Did the muscle contest, LA championships, and got fourth place in that one
Well, you mentioned this before, but what was your prep week like? Because when you mentioned it to me, I was like, how did she even step on that stage?
for LA.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I ended up with a sinus infection. So still kind of dealing with that whole congestion right now. But yeah, congestion before the Saturday before the show. So ended up being a mouth breather the whole time, and a lot of blowing my nose. My nose was raw, a lot of coughing, sore throats, hard time sleeping because I couldn't breathe. So yeah, just rolling into peak week with being sick was a lot of fun. I ended up having to cancel all my clients because obviously I didn't want to get them sick. So sitting around a lot at home.
If anyone ever doubts the motivation and determination of bodybuilders, I give you that as an example right there that shows that they are part crazy, part very dedicated. But hey, I will
Yes.
I will take that to heart. But one thing that I noticed is that a lot of people, once they get their Olympia qualifications, they don't compete in shows after that. What was your reasoning behind going to another show? Because I have had a lot of guests on where like once they get that Olympic qualification, they're like, okay, I'm just gonna rest until the Olympia.
And that's what I thought I was going to do, Ryan.
In
So
hindsight, maybe that would have been a better choice.
yeah. So I was talking to my coach Damien prior to the show, and a week leading up to it, and he's like, "Well, we just got to get the win so you can relax." He's like, "You've been going hard for the last 3 years, so let's just get that win so that you can take this time off and prep for the." I'm like, "Okay, sounds like a plan to me." So when I got the win, I was sitting there thinking, "Sweet, I have the year." So I can finally kind of just chill a little bit. I don't have to chase points all year long. I don't have to prep all year long. I can kind of, boost those calories and uh, eat a little bit, and not be in that deficit for for a year round. But then I get off stage, and the first thing he says is, "So what's next?" I'm like, "What?" The O.
I'm going home and going to sleep. That's what's next.
Yeah. So we had about a 10-minute conversation about all of our options, and So a couple things are coming up this year. My husband and I are going on vacation for one in August, and then my daughter is getting married in October. And so I said, I don't want to prep during that time because I want to be able to focus on her. Like I need to give her that attention, and I don't want to be freaking out about, prep. So I was going into NorCal um, with the thought of doing two other shows after that, anyways. And the other one would have been Governor's Cup and the Muscle Contest LA Championship. So I already kind of had that LA show in my mind, anyways. And I had that as being my final cutoff date. If I didn't win any of those shows, the points weren't there. I was going to be done in July no matter what. So I kind of said that to Damien, and he's like, okay, so let's do LA. I said, okay, sounds good to me. I go, my mindset was that day, anyways. So we just decided to pick that show and go with it. It's close to home. I don't have to travel back east. It's a simple little hour flight down there. It was super convenient. And like I said, that timeline was really important for me. So yeah, we just picked another show, and he wanted me to be in front of different judges instead of the panel that Sandy had with Sandy. And so Tamer and Tarek are down there, and they would also be some judges at Tarek would be a judge at the Olympia. So we wanted to get some more feedback going into the O from another set of eyes. So that was our reasoning behind it.
Well, please tell me that your daughter's had this conversation with you, Mom. You got to wear sleeves when we go to the wedding. I'm not going to have you. I'm not going to have you take away all that attention from me, because we've had some bodybuilders that when they go to weddings, they sort of piss off the bride and groom because there's like everyone's focused on you when it should be on me. So, that's
Well, it's outside and in October in Nevada, so who knows what the weather is going to be like that month. So most likely I'll be covered up.
Where's the destination of your vacation that you're taking next month?
We are going to Belize.
Belize. Ooh.
Yes.
Any reason particular why, or did you just like point on a map and say, here, let's just go there?
Actually, our friends invited us to go. They've asked us. He's also a IFBB pro, and he's asked me for the last 3 years to go on vacation with him and his wife. So I was finally not on prep. So I said, yes, let's do it.
I am honestly going on vacation the whole month of August myself. I had taken a month off of podcast. I'll still be editing and publishing these, everyone, but I won't be recording any of them. And I'm taking a month off my regular job too, where I'm spending 2 weeks in Minnesota to just relax, and then I'm spending 2 weeks. My little brother moved to San Diego like 4 months ago, so I'm gonna go stay with him for 2 weeks down in San Diego. So hopefully I will enjoy that. I mean, August really is the perfect time to. August is the perfect time to take a vacation, especially in Minnesota, because you get the dog days of summer where it's just. Yeah, it's bad out today, but then like August, it's lower temperature, but it's just more humidity out there. So yeah, it will be. It really need this, everyone. I've done, I have 3 podcasts. I've done 800 podcasts in over 4 years, so I need my break and to just decompress, because by God, it is definitely time. But I mean,
have you been to San Diego before?
No, I've never been to San Diego. So here's the thing. So like you can see behind me, like these are all the rally monkeys from like half of the baseball stadiums that I've been to, since we're a big baseball family. I have not been to any baseball stadiums on the West Coast, but I've been to all of them on the East Coast, all of them in Texas, all of them around there. But yeah, I'll probably have to catch
I
up.
love that. That we're a big baseball family too, so that was kind of always our thing, that we'd hit all the stadiums. We're not very good at that right now, though.
Well, I'm gonna be honest. We haven't done it since I was like 15 or something like that. Then, because so it's been like 13 years. But yeah, we did a lot of minor league stadiums too. But I don't know if I've told you, my older brother's named Nolan and my name is Ryan for a reason.
Oh.
So yeah, my little brother was going to be named Cal, but then my mom said no more baseball names, so they named him Mitchell instead. So yeah, she had.
There's got to be a baseball player as a Mitchell.
They have. Well, yeah, that too. I mean, yeah. So yeah, my dad was a baseball player in college. My older brother got drafted by the White Sox, but then he got hurt, so he wasn't able to play. But yeah, so there's a lot of baseball blood in this family. But what would you say is the one area of your body that you've improved on the most since we last had you on last year?
Improvement, I would say, my whole posterior. So back and glutes for sure. We've been hammering that hard. Still have a lot of work to do. They're just a interesting beast. My glutes are. So yeah, just it's continuing to fine tune the whole shape of the glute right now. So yeah, the glutes for sure.
I will say though, I went to a bodybuilding show, my first ever bodybuilding show, like 2 weekends ago. They had one in the Twin Cities, and I was like, should I go? It's only like a 2-minute drive for me, and I ended up going. I feel so much better about my calves than I felt before because I saw all those guys on stage and a lot of them had really crappy calves. So I was like, okay, I feel a little bit better about myself now. That and the fact that being 6'3", like I towered over, like if it was funny when they opened up the doors, I could see over everybody. Like open up, like there was a line of like 200 people like waiting to get in. I could see over everybody, and I was like, okay, this is great. And I met like 4 or 5 guests that I've had on, and both time, like I met one of them who I just had on, who's like 4'10". And I was like, oh my god, this is just the funniest thing ever. But like, yeah, it was really eye opening for me. But yeah, glutes.
My husband says the same thing when he goes to bodybuilding shows because he's 6'3" as well. He's like, "I love going." He's like, "I'm the biggest dude in there."
Yeah,
Tallest.
I mean, I'd rather not. I'd rather do that than go to a Timberwolves game where I stand up to some of these NBA players. I'm like only at their stomach basically, and you're just like, how is that even a thing?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was it was. I mean, I will say though, I could smell the spray tan from the last row, and I was just like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm definitely here. The weird thing is though, there are like a lot of pregnant women there, and I was like, there's a 50% chance that those kids are going to be born Guidos with all that secondhand like tanner that they're inhaling.
Yeah.
So who knows there? We're gonna have to flip a coin, with that one. But yeah, glutes is a mystery even to me. So I hear you with that. But what did you do for back? Because back was the one thing that comes naturally for me. So I'm one of those weird people. Like I never had to worry about my back really.
Oh gosh, what did I do for back?
Used to like pull ups every day, all day.
No, it's actually a lot of single arm stuff. Um, Gareth, the one that writes my programming, he has taught me a lot about programming, as far as like looking at my programming and how different it is. But yeah, just a lot of different movements that I myself didn't wasn't aware of, I guess. And then a lot of lateral single arm stuff to really focus on bringing out that width a lot more. And I relied a lot on deadlifts for like the thickness and stuff, and I realized I didn't need to do the deadlifts as much, especially conventional deadlifting. So for him to adjust things so that I wasn't deadlifting as much and but still getting that thickness in there, so that helped a lot too.
Yeah, there are. I am just shocked by how many ways that people have come up with, like on how to build muscles and new different techniques. I mean, it's always one of those things where you think you know everything, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh yeah, just do the move like this," and you're like, "Wait, you're telling me that I've spent my entire life doing it like that when I could have just done it like this and it would be so much easier." That's the only thing that frustrates me for about a second, and then I'm just like, "Okay, no, it's good at least that I've learned it now." But one question that I've been recently bringing up to guests that I've had on, multiple times is that, I have been just so out of it when it comes to just knowing my body, like when to stop doing stuff and when to, push back. Like I still struggle with that where I have overtrained myself to, failure a lot of times, not as bad as it was in my early 20s. In my early 20s, I could literally work out for 5 hours and I'm wondering like, why am I not losing any weight or not? Why am I not putting on knee size? It's like, yeah, because you did like 25 sets of lat pull downs, you're probably not going to see some results from that. But like, how long did it really take you to finally figure out, what works best for your body? Because for so many people, especially like me, we struggle for years upon years before we finally realize that like we're doing everything absolutely wrong. And a lot of people, they figure it out really early because they have a really nice, mind to muscle connection with themselves. But other people like me, I mean, it's just like walking through a cave trying to find the light.
I would say honestly, I'm still trying to figure it out. I think we have a different mindset too because we know we have to push ourselves and um, you don't want to. I don't know. Can I say this? You don't want to be a little and like, oh, I'm tired. Well, okay, but you still have to put in the work. So I think I'm still kind of trying to figure that out myself. But there are definitely times like I can see it, especially now that I'm more focused on tracking my workouts and watching my lifts and seeing how they're changing. And this week I did this week or that weight, or 2 months ago I was doing this weight, and I'm not feeling it today. So tracking has been really huge because I can see what's going on and going, okay, why am I not being able to lift that same amount of weight? That doesn't make sense. And then that, I'm having that conversation with myself, like, oh well, this is going on, this is going on. I have this stress happening in my life. All this stuff is happening. And so I would say if anything, excuse me, the tracking has helped a lot just because I can see the data and not just, play those mental games with myself with, oh, you're just being a little crybaby, keep going.
Well, you mentioned stress, and I don't think we've even talked about stress the other two times I've had you on, and that is like the biggest thing that people struggle with, especially if they. I mean, I'm a stressful person myself, but some people like they don't understand how much of an impact that has on your body, like retaining stuff and just that whole conundrum, how do you try to limit your stress? Or even if you are stressful, is there anything that you try to do to try to mitigate it so it's not as bad? Because for me, like, stress is never ending with just when you're this hyper, like, you're stressed out all the time. So like, what do you do with your stress?
Um, I guess I gravitate towards the things that just chill me out. And then when I say that, I mean like my husband, like spending more time with him and, trying to push everything else
I hope he
away.
chills you out, because if he doesn't, we'd be having a different conversation.
Yes. Walking with my dog, going and doing something like that, sitting down and just like getting away from everything and reading. Even, and it's funny, like my music choice is like, as I get closer to a show, my music choices even change. Like I'm hard heavy metal for most of the prep, but those last 2 weeks, I can't do it. And I'm like, it's too much stimulation. So the stress on my body is just like, no. So even my music choices change. A lot more time stretching and just trying to make the body relax as well. Um, yeah, it's kind of funny because I think when I was teaching and bodybuilding, I think the stresses then were far more than they are currently. 100%. I mean, I have kind of more control over my schedule right now. So I think I'm so used to that, and I couldn't get away from that stress of teaching. Like it was constant. I think right now, like it's not, I guess, as overwhelming as it was when I was teaching. And I was used to the stress back then.
I mean, I totally agree with you on the music thing. Whenever I go on my walk, at the very end of the walk, I always got to get like the Eagles' "Peaceful Easy Feeling" or Christopher Cross "Sailing." You got to get some smooth stuff before you get back home, just to sort of help calm you down. But please tell me that you're at least sleeping in just a little bit more than you were as a teacher, because if you weren't, then I was like, then what's the point of even stopping teaching?
No, actually, I kept the same exact schedule. So yeah, I start my clients at 7 in the morning. So I'm still up about 4 to get my cardio and breakfast and everything in. So it was easier for me. I'm a morning person anyways. Do I like waking up at 4 o'clock? No, if I could push it back, but it was just an easy transition and getting those clients in before they go to work. So I'm not at least having to get up with my any 5 or 6 o'clock clients. My clients start at 6 or 7, excuse me. So it works.
I mean, hey, if it floats your boat, I would. I mean, getting up at 4, that's still to this day. I mean, my sleep has gotten a little bit better, but it, still just drives me crazy. But have you changed things up, at least nutrition wise, this last prep? Or are you still sort of doing things the same, or how did that go?
Still very much the same. Yeah. And I have most control. I mean, for the most part, I have control over my Damien gives me macros, and he trusts me enough with my diet that I just follow the macros, and he sees what I'm doing every day. And um, yeah, so it hasn't changed much at all. I think if anything, I guess my biggest change would be I did start adding in Greek yogurt. Like that's a new thing, but no, it's pretty steady.
And I mean, I didn't bring this up last year because it was happening as we were talking, but last year was sort of like a watershed moment in the sport, I think, with all the, there's a lot of deaths there, and I think a lot more of the general public was sort of aware of, like the extremes that happen in the sport. And it was just one of those years where a lot of people just look at it and they're just like, wow, a lot of stuff happened this year. What was that like for you, viewing that as a competitor? Because I think for a lot of people that aren't that familiar with the sport, it was very eye opening, where they're just like, oh my God, this is like what really goes on. And they just saw a lot of people die, and a lot of suffering. And I think it was, there are a lot of factors to it, but I mean, like, what was your thought process like competing in like last year when all that stuff was going on?
Um, I mean, it definitely makes you more self-aware of what's going on. Like, if your body doesn't feel right, then you need to talk to your coach about it. Like a little bit more hyper aware of
If you
how you're
see
feeling.
stars on the stage, you probably should walk off. Like, let's just be
Yeah.
honest.
I mean, there was time, yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely times like during workouts or cardio where I was dizzy, I did not feel great. This happened. Just and definitely opening up the communication with my coaches, letting them know what's going on, just in case. Then obviously, and I always have like the blood work and stuff, just making sure that's all on spot on. And again, more consistent with that than I have been in the past. Um, yeah, I think it just definitely makes you more hyper aware of the signals your body is telling you for sure.
Yeah, some people, yeah, you could tell that like they went there's all in and then there's like that time to the extreme. You can just tell with some people. But yeah, I think it was something that ended up, being a little bit, I'm not going to say beneficial because people died, but like now I think people are a little bit more aware of like, yeah, I need to take more control of my body and need to like you said, do more constant blood work. Cause yeah, I've had some guests too where like they take years off of doing blood work where it's like they get it done like every like 2 or 3 years and you're just like, okay, like, yeah, I don't even know, but I do think it has been eye opening for that. So at least
Yeah.
there's some positive that came out of all of that. But I mean, like we've talked about this before, but this is just an ever evolving sport. Like it changes constantly. If you go from even one year to the next, there are some changes that happen. Have there been any changes that you've seen recently as to, either how they're judging people or just how they're looking at athletes?
I mean, I think when I look at the divisions every year, um, and I'm just going to speak towards the female categories for sure. Um, I think the expectations are, how do I say this? The physiques are getting more muscular than they intended. And I mean, I guess I see that more and more every year. You can see that progression happening. I just actually just a week ago had a picture of Nicole Wilkins and Aaron Stern on stage together, and they were on the Olympia stage together, and seeing them side by side and looking at what they look like now compared to what we see on the stage currently, I was like, oh my gosh, like Aaron should have been bikini back then. But I mean, I guess it's, yeah, that progression right there, which is unfortunate, I think. As far as judging, um, they say there's a criteria. I will disagree. I don't think
I
it's
am a
a
million
criteria.
percent with you on that. Yeah. I mean, yeah, they say there's a criteria and then you look at some results and then you're just like, what are
Yeah,
you I mean, it's like I have some snake oil if you want, then if you're really gonna,
yeah,
go for all that. But yeah, that's the one thing. Like when I mentioned at the end of the podcast, which I will be asking you, if like, is there's one thing you could change about the sport, what would it be? I mean, that would be. I'm just gonna give you my answer already. Like I tell you a million times, like just have a thing where it's like this is exactly what we're looking for,
yeah.
and have
Well,
it
and
have it
they
be
say
for
they
all shows
do.
too. Yeah, but it's like no, it's like yeah, if you have lineups like you said, if you do shows in back to back and you have the same lineup there will be occasions where you will place different, even if you have the same look, the same lineup, just because it is human nature. As much as people don't want to admit it, human nature, people tend to favor different aspects of other people, especially. So I mean, I just wish they would at least address that. Where be like, we're not perfect creatures who have like the be all end all, and that was for me. But okay, so has this ever happened to you? This is one thing that I ask people now ever since I went to a bodybuilding show where I was aware a little bit that like most of the judging was done in prejudging, where then like you kind of know like who is going to win or not. So I always thought if I ever competed, it would be the funniest thing. Like if after prejudging, if I knew I was going to win, just to eat like 20 Big Macs, and then just to walk on that stage like 20 pounds heavier and just be like, "Give me that trophy," just like my gut just hanging out and everything like that. But have you ever experienced that or had someone experience that where like they accidentally like overate between shows, and then they come out and they're just a lot fuller?
I actually did an Instagram post on this.
Okay,
It happened to me.
okay.
Yeah, so my amateur time actually. I was looking like I was sitting around third or fourth place. And so my coach at the time, we all went to lunch, and he's like, "Well, you're not in the running, so go ahead and eat whatever you want." So I did, and I had the best burger with a ton of cheese and bacon and all the fries. Turned around that night, and they brought us back on stage, and they told us it's so close that um, we need to judge you guys again. And I walked out there going, "Oh," knowing what I had just done. And so we went backstage. All the other categories went. They brought us out again. I still ended up third. Could I have possibly had done better had I monitored my eating and got my conditioning a little bit better if I was still eating clean? Possibly. But Sandy was nice enough after the show that she said she pulled me up to the side and said, "Get off the regional stage, go do a national show, and go earn your pro card." So I did.
Everyone, yeah,
But yeah, that was a definite learning experience for sure.
you're playing Russian roulette, everyone, if you're eating a lot of food after, because yeah, you never know. They could just
Yeah.
say like, "Hey, we've judged it and it's a little too uneven now." But yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
and I tell my clients that now. I said, "I don't care where you are in the lineup in the morning show, you still are gonna eat this, and the show is over after the finals is over. Then you can have whatever you want."
if you were to gauge kind of what the biggest struggle that your clients deal with when it comes to just the health and fitness lifestyle, just or if they're competing, what they struggle with that, what would you say is probably the most common occurrence that you deal with as a personal trainer of this, what people struggle with?
Oh, that one's tough because I have a lot of answers to that
You
one.
can do as many as you want. I was just saying one because I didn't know if there was that many. Yeah.
Well, okay, during prep, comparisons, looking all the other competitors up and sizing the other ones up and then saying, "I'm not ready because look at this person. They're 6 weeks out and so am I, and I don't look like that." So comparisons is probably one of my least favorite as a coach because I'm like, stop it. They're filtering their so stop. Um, and then I would say the reverse diet is probably the most difficult for my competitors. And that's when I see a lot of them struggle the most. One, to maintain that reverse diet and handle it well post show, um, or still restrict and work out too much because they don't want to go to what they look like. They want to stay that stage lean, and they have a hard time reversing out that way. So that's a really big one. That's the big mental F after a show.
I mean, I know society is mainly to blame for this, but I do wish that women, especially in bodybuilding, viewed the weight gain more like guys did, where it's like, just let me gain as much as I want. I don't give a crap. 30, 40 pounds, who cares? I'll deal with it or something like that. But, it's unfortunate that, because of a lot of factors, a lot of women just have that fear of like, yeah, I don't want to, put on so much weight. And it's like, you earned it really, basically. It's like you kind of have to. But I mean, where are you at right now on your prep? Because I know you did your 2 shows and then you said you're not going to be prepping at least in October, but where are you at currently right now?
We're going into a deload, so some things that we backed off a little bit. 4 days a week of working out, still doing cardio once a day, not twice a day, which is nice. So taking a couple of weeks for deloading, and then we'll just jump right back in. Right now, I'm not sure where my cardio is because I check in on Sunday for him to give me the go ahead for next week. But yeah, so we'll jump back in and just start molding and shaping this physique to improve on what the judges told me to improve on.
Well, and I ask you this every single time, but like you're not the average looking woman. I mean, walk out in public dressed the way you are right now. And I mean, how do you deal with that even now? Like as you've put on even more size as a year, I mean, just that attention, because even at this show that I went to, like some of these people were just, it's like mini celebrities where you just walk on and then everyone's just, or even outside of the show, like everyone's just staring. Like, I don't know if I could personally deal with that. How do you get through with that? Because that to me is just the, it's not like weird, but like, it's just the most just fascinating part about it is just like how much attention you draw just because you look different.
Mhm. It's hard. It's really hard. Um, I mean, my life is I go to the gym in the morning and I go home, and then I go to gym at night to train my clients. So I spend my time in those two spots. So when I do go shopping or whatever, and I get the attention, I forget sometimes that I look different because I'm so used to being just at my house and at the gym. Um, but I will tell you, I'm very strategic in the outfits I choose when I go out in public places. Like you said with about the wedding, like covering up. I walk around right now. It's 92 degrees outside. If I go to the grocery store, I put a hoodie on. I put a jacket on because I mean, I'm still pretty lean, and I still know I'm going to get those looks. Um, I'm an introvert. I don't like the attention, anyways. So it
You
makes me
chose a heck of a
uncomfortable.
sport for it then.
I know, right? So yeah, the attention's hard. Um, and sometimes I don't mind it. I do get a ton of compliments. A lot of times, there are those people that do give the compliments, but then there are those people that like they walk by and they like, they snarl at you or whatever, and it's just frustrating because you know how hard you work to look like this, and the sacrifices you make and all of that. And so when someone gives you that look, I mean, that's a little bit harder to take for sure.
Yeah, I honestly just don't. I mean, a lot of it's jealousy too, and just it's just
Sure.
I've like as a society, like I've always said, I found this interesting that like if you were to rip on a fat person in public, you'd get torn apart by other people. But if it's an in shape person, it's open season where it's like nobody really cares. So I've just found that to just be the most like just eye-opening thing to me is like why do we do that, but
Yeah.
that's like a 10-hour long podcast that we could get into to really
It
talk
is.
about that, and I'd get canceled for that one. I'm not gonna get canceled yet, everyone. I'll wait a couple of years, and then when I want to get canceled, I'll cancel myself. But I mean, this is a question that took me 500 or so health and fitness podcasts to come up with, which shows how great of a host I am. But I think this to myself every single time I have a bodybuilder on, even if I wasn't asking this before, just because it's human nature. Why do they do this to themselves? Why do they put themselves through this? I hear all these prep brain stories. I hear everything, and I'm just like, I know why, obviously, because I've talked to so many of them. But like, still, just the humane part of my brain is just like, why do they put themselves through all of this? So, and I bet you still hear that even to this day. So, how do you like to respond to that when people just talk to you and they're just like, Shelace, why do you put yourself through all of this?
You definitely have to love it. It's just one of the, I mean, you have to have a passion for it. I love working out. I love lifting heavy. I love being at the gym. So that's definitely part of it. Um, a lot of it is also just that competitive nature where I want to. I have a lot to prove to myself. So I want to see how much better I can get. What else I can do. And every time when you see that progress and you see that your hard work is paying off because you do see it in bodybuilding, I think that's a little bit of an addiction. Like, oh my gosh, yes, I worked this hard, and this is the reward I'm getting from it. So it. I think a lot of it's that too, just to see what else you can do. The body is amazing, and the way you can transform it and shape it, and the way it adapts is just phenomenal. So I think just the science behind it all is also fun too. So I think that's the biggest thing is just I have fun with it and I have a passion for it and I love the challenge.
Do you ever just look at your body pre bodybuilding and your body now and just like ask yourself, how did I do this? Like, how is this? How did I do? Because like I've seen some of these transformations and it's literally like a whole new person. Like it's crazy how much you really discover about like how much the body can transform if you treat it right and do the right things.
Yeah, and it's I mean even looking at back at like my very first show, like looking at like thinking back then, oh my gosh, I'm huge, I'm so muscular, and then looking at me now going, I thought I was huge back then. So yeah, it's fun. And I mean, I was always athletic, so it's kind of fun to watch how my body is transformed based on what I was doing too. I mean, every physique has its look for what it's doing. So when I was really big into cycling, like I had a cycling body. So it's cool, like I said, just to watch how the body adapts to what you're asking of it. And I just think that part's just fascinating to me.
I do wish because I love those videos on YouTube where like people take a photo of themselves like every single day for like 3 years or something like that, and it just shows how like their face just changed. I wish someone would just do that with their bodybuilding journey, where they would just take one photo of themselves, just like either just like standing up or doing whatever, and just show like over like a pan. Because I think that would be really cool. Because yeah, like we've talked about many times on this podcast, it is not an overnight thing. It is gonna take some time, but
And you know what, Ryan? I still ask myself that, like 2 weeks out from a show, why the hell am I doing this?
oh, yeah, you'd
But
you'd
then I
be
remember,
you'd be absolutely crazy if you didn't ask yourself that. Like, I would literally be like, "Okay, Shalace, we gotta send you to a home or something like that." Like, we gotta do like because I've had about like 4 or 5 guests that like have said like, "Oh, I love preps. I never complain." I was like, "Okay, well, just remind me to never run into you in the street, or if I do see you on the street, just to like turn and run in the opposite direction because
you are sick.
God knows what's going on in that brain of yours." But yeah, it's like this is. I mean, if people weren't saying to themselves, "Why do I do this?" More people would do the sport. I mean, it's like it's just like if it wasn't so hard, everyone would do it and
I
everything.
always tell my clients it's a lot like childbirth. Like you go through that whole change of in your physique and your body and everything, and the pain and all of that, and how awful it is and how much it hurts, and then childbirth itself, how much it hurts. But then you get there, you get the child, you're on stage, and then afterward you forget and you do it again. You have another baby.
When I was younger, there was my friends would always make the debate about what's more painful, giving birth or getting kicked in the nuts, and my closing argument was always, you don't see guys saying that was fun, let's do it again. No, I know it was just
That's
a
a
joke.
valid point.
Obviously, I'm not going to compare that to because like my mom was in labor for me for like a day, so I couldn't imagine having the pain of getting kicked in the nads for a whole day because that would be I would be lying on my bed just crying basically the whole time then. So again, sort of what happened. So yeah, but it's just yeah, I always use that. But I mean, now the golden question that I talked about before: if you could change one thing about the sport of bodybuilding and everyone would go along with it, would be one thing that you'd like to see changed?
I mean, I guess I could go to the judging, just because I don't know. I feel like it is um, chasing judges and picking shows based off of that. Um, Gosh, if I could change anything else,
Well, I'd always say too, like prize money, like this should if this were like it should be where you should be able to just have being if you're a pro, you should be able to just be able to support yourself just being a pro because like people don't understand that you have to be in the top tier of the Olympia to like even break even a lot of these times with money. And it's like that shouldn't even be a thing where it's like my thing is like just have a stipend of like $20,000 $30,000 that each pro gets or something like that just because people don't realize how much easier that would make these competitors lifestyles and you get better results too if you had more time to just focus on just doing gym stuff. Now obviously like you can still personal train because you're in the gym anyways, but I mean it's like just to be able to have that financial support in the background where it's like you don't have to be as stressed out and worried about things, and it's just that's one thing that I wish that they would do.
and I 100% agree with you. Absolutely. And I'm sitting here like giggling in my head, thinking, "Well, you know what? Like both, I guess, careers that I chose, teaching and bodybuilding, are very not financially sound. You don't get paid for what you're worth.
Don't take any stock advice from her, everyone. That's what I'm
Yeah,
getting from all this stuff too. So yeah,
don't go my route.
she'll probably get you buying Enron stocks or something like that. Who knows? But yeah, that's. I mean,
No, that's a great point, Ryan. I didn't even. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. I mean, and especially, I mean, let's just make it the same for women and men,
yeah,
comparable.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, have it be it's close and I mean, yeah, but I mean, Shalace, when we do have you on a year from now, again, I'll have you on in another year. I'd love to talk to you again. Where would you like to be at ideally in your bodybuilding career? Where would you like to be at in your overall life, other than winning the Olympia, obviously? Because if you were to tell me I don't want to win the Olympia, then I'd be like, okay, what's going on here? But where would you like to be at a year from now?
Well, gosh, a year from now. So winning the Olympia, let me just say I'd like to be in the top 10 at the Olympia. Let's start there. I don't know about winning it. I'm going to be realistic there.
People could get sick. You never know what's going to happen. Hey, crazier things have happened in this world.
Those women are amazing,
Yeah.
but
COVID
yeah,
might break out, everyone. We don't know.
yeah.
We don't know. So,
So let's say top 10.
yeah.
You know what? So moving forward, I hope I'm still able to compete next year. I'm having some major issues with my neck right now, and it's looking like a pretty extensive surgery coming up. So I'm hoping that's not the case. I do have to get that opinion, and yeah, I'm losing my words right now.
Was it the
Um,
deadlifts?
no, but yeah, so I actually have to meet with the ortho to see what we're doing. But yeah, hopefully I'm still able to bodybuild next year. So that's my goal right now. That's my focus.
What caused the neck injury? Because that's not that much of a common injury that I
I
hear of. You don't
I
know?
don't know. He said usually it's a cause from like a major accident, like whiplash type stuff, like that kind of stuff. There's 3 herniated discs, 3 bone spurs. It's also moderate to severe, C3 through C7. My neck actually curves the opposite direction it's supposed to. So there's lots of stuff going in there. We just don't know how extensive it is right now. But yes, my doctor said I'm basically. He goes, you have to liken it to you're riding around on a bald tire and it's about to blow at any time. So trying just to be careful about that right now. So I don't know. Like I said, I got to get that opinion and see. I've never been in a major car accident or anything, so I don't know what it came from. Maybe falling off a cow, and I used to rodeo as a little girl. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Well, you got to take shoulder shrugs out of your workout now. At least there's that. So, but I mean,
Yes.
yeah, so you're dealing with that. You had sinus headache and you still went on stage. Everyone, that is, it's just that's just amazing for me. And I mean, that is I do wish you the best, and I hope you get that fixed because yeah, I am dealing with some back stuff myself. But I got my back stuff from walking. I was just walking, and then all of a sudden it just hurt. Where now, like even now sitting now, it's like extreme. It's like it's right next to my collarbone, or it's right next to the not the collarbone, the what's the bone sticking out in your back? That's like there's like two of them, and they're uh
Your pelvic
no,
bone?
this stuff right here.
Oh, your scapula?
The scapula, yeah. So it's like right next to it. So it's like right to the in the middle of that. Where I just think it's a strain because it's been like a week or so. But I told people that I know it's like, oh, if it hurts in a week from now, I'll just go see a doctor. I've been taking some I've been taking some a leave, and it's been doing a little bit better. I just can't really like sit down right now. That's why like I forgot to tell you, I was like, yeah, if I do this, I'm not trying to like outflex you or anything like that. I'm literally just making sure that my back is just like not gonna like fall apart. But yeah, so before we wrap things up, is there anyone like that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Oh, shout out. Um, yeah, the usual, same as last time. My husband, who is always amazing. We just celebrated our 18-year anniversary last weekend, so that was the day after the show. So that was amazing. Um, so him for sure, because he puts up with it all. I don't know how he does it. Every mood swing, every show, every high, every low. He's amazing.
Just leave her alone, everyone. Just stay in your rooms, do all that crap. I don't. Yeah, it's just,
Yeah, he knows. Just the look on my face. He knows what mood I'm in. So he's phenomenal. He's an amazing human being. Um, and then of course my coaches, Gareth and Damien, both of them phenomenal. Patient with me, patient with dealing with all of this stuff and working around, you know, one sickness or in the next or one injury in the next, and modifying everything to make it work and still get me to where I need to be with this physique. So they're amazing coaches. I couldn't ask for a better team behind me for sure. And then my gym family, the owners of the gym, I've had huge strides in my business in the last year, and a lot of it is to them. So huge thank you to Bob, Tammy, and Roxy at American Iron Gym. They're they've been phenomenal to me too. So yeah,
well, I'm just going to go ahead and knock on wood with both hands that she has a healthy and successful rest of her prep because God knows that the cards are probably stacked against her on that part. So I'm going to give her all the luck that she has, everyone. But again, anyone that's questioning the toughness and the determination of bodybuilders, I will send them this podcast episode right now and see what they have to say about that. But again, Shelace, I cannot thank you for coming on again and, sharing your journey with us and talking about it. And you really do add a bright spot to, what these athletes go through and how much they struggle and they're still able to get it done. And it's really inspiring. I got to say, so thank you so much.
thanks for having me again, Ryan. I appreciate it. I always have fun talking to you. So thank you.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. Hey, that's my favorite compliment that I get. So I appreciate that. And again, everyone, this is Ryan Johnson, DD on the spot signing off. Have a great day, everyone.